Okay, so hello, ladies, gentlemen. It's nice to see you for the first time. For this first session of this series of courses, English Does Work Level 5. Okay, doc. So, what are we going to do today? Well, according to the learning guide, we are going to present a test, right? So, today and tomorrow, the 25th and the 26th at 9 a.m., we're going to study some topics that are going to be part of a test we are going to find in Zayuna. So the learning guide says, okay, we will have 30 minutes to present the test, and that's it. Nothing else to mention about the test. We have questions about true or false, pairing, and to complete some missing words, so fill the blanks and so on. So the test is going to be very easy. And the question here is, where are we going to find the test, right? So when we go to Zayuna, remember that Zayuna means a seed, semilla in Arawaco, right? So we go to Zayuna and we open our course. In this case, our course is called 3114804, I guess. Excuse me. I apologize. Okay, so English does work level 5. Here, once we are in English does work level 5, we're going to look for the link that's called Actividades de Aprendizaje Guía. And once we are in there, we're going to click in Test English does work level 5. Once we are there, we're going to click in Take the test or present the quiz or preview quiz or something similar in order to be able to present the test. Let's remember that we have to get at least a 70% of accuracy to pass the test. Oh, and let's remember too that in the link called grades, I'm going to say switch for a moment my role so you can see, yeah, the same structure in your account. So on the left part where you can find the link called, wait a minute, yeah, and you can find the link called grades. It's not gradas, by the way, right? It's calificaciones. So you're going to find an A that means approved, or you're going to find, sorry, a D that means your evidence is not correct, so you will have to repeat it. So in this case, the test is going to, as soon as you complete the test, you're going to find an A or a D. If you get a D, you will have to repeat the test, sorry. So yeah, you can repeat the test as many times as needed. So don't worry if you fail for the first time, because you can try again and 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 again until you pass the test. Vale? Okay, so this is the topic we are going to talk about today. So what are we going to find in the test? What are the topics for the test? I forgot to mention something. Wait a minute. Here is schedule for English Does Work Level 5. The proposal for you to complete the test. Yeah. Hello, Juan. Okay, we were saying today we are going to present a test according to the schedule. We are going to take a test that we are going to find in Zayuna. So I'm going to do a quick recap. And we are going to be able to present the test, or at least the suggestion is to complete the test until the 31st of October. However, as you know, according to the session we had yesterday in the induction, we will have until the 21st of November to present all activities. But we suggest you to complete the activities according to the schedule, so you don't have to present many activities at the same time at the last day of working. Therefore, we invite you to do it according to the schedule. So in the test, you will be the test is going to be available for the whole course, but we suggest you to complete it until the 31st of October. So, as we mentioned some minutes ago, but it's important to mention it again just in case. To take the test, we go to Zayuna. Once we are in Zayuna, we are going to we are going to open our course. So English Task Work Level 5. Once we are in English Task Work Level 5, we're going to look for the link called Actividades de Aprendizaje, and then the link called, where is it? Oh my God, yes, the link called Test. So once you complete the test, on the left, you're going to find a menu that says Grades, and here in Grades, you're going to find sorry, I need to change the role for a minute. Apprentice. Oops, something's wrong. Let's try it again. Perfect. So once you click in calificaciones or grades, you're going to be able to see an A, that's going to mean approved, your evidence is approved, or you're going to find a D, that means that your evidence is not approved, so you will have to repeat it as many times as possible. You have a limited tries to take the test. So if you fail for the first time, you can try it again and again and again and again and again as many times as you want. Okay. So what are the topics we are going to see in the test? Because the test is going to be very, very easy. The topics are going to be, wait a minute, yeah, are going to be related to simple present tense. And as you know, as you remember from level 1, level 2, level 3, simple present tense is divided in two parts. The first part is the verb to be, and the second part is the management of other verbs like create, enjoy, live, study, and so on. So we have two sides of the same coin. So just for methodology, we study the verb to be on the first hand, and on the other hand, we study the management of other kind of verbs. But it's part of the same coin. So we're going to study simple present tense. In fact, not study because we already know that, but we are going to remember it. And then next day, on the next session, I mean tomorrow, we're going to remember how comparative and superlative adjectives behave, because this is the other part you're going to see in the test. So this is something that you have already studied in level 1, level 2. In level 2, comparative and superlative adjectives, and level 1, level 3, simple present tense. So that's why I'm going to be a little fast with this, because I'm just going to remind you things you have already studied in previous levels. So just to remember, simple present tense is divided into parts. The first part is the management of verb to be. So verb to be, as you know, means ser estar, and its applicability is the same applicability we have in Spanish. So we use a verb to be to talk about locations. For example, estoy en Brazil. I am in Brazil. Exactly the same in Spanish. To talk about marital status, for example, Mariana is single. Mariana está soltera. To talk about relationships, she is my sister. Ella es mi hermana. To talk about emotions, for example, I am sad. Estoy triste. Let's suppose that. To talk about the physical appearance, how do you look, right? How do I look? For example, you look tall, or you are yeah, you're tall, handsome, and so on, right? To talk about a personality. So the difference between appearance and personality is that with appearance you can see something. You're going to use your eyes mainly, not only but mainly. And to talk about personality, you need to meet this person to have an interaction with him or her to know how is his or her behavior, because we are talking about behaviors here. Esa persona es reservada. That person is reserved. That's part of his or her personality. We also use verb to be to talk about the time, occupations, for example, the time. It's 9 o'clock. in the morning, 9 o'clock in the evening, right? Occupations, we are lawyers, students, doctors, and so on. To talk about nationalities, it's pretty obvious, right? Soy colombiano. I am Colombian. This is pretty obvious, pretty coherent with Spanish, because as we mentioned before, the same reasons why we use a simple present tense verb to be in Spanish are the same reasons why we use simple present tense verb to be in English. But there is an asterisk here. There is an addendum here, an exception. Because in Spanish, to talk about age, we say, yo tengo 17 años, right? En cada pata, pues. But in English, it's not correct. Because in English, we're going to use the verb to be to talk about age. So we are 17, 20, 15 years old, 50s, 80, 71, whatever. And we are not going to relate the age with the numbers only, because obviously numbers are important to talk about age. But it's not only that. We can also mention periods of our lives. For example, when we are teenagers, adults, children, toddlers, babies, and so on. This is not a number. We are not mentioning a number, but we are using a specific period of our lives, talking about age, right? A teenager, okay, between these years and these years. An adult, okay, between the, I don't know, the 27 to, I don't know, to the 60s, a young adult from 18 years old to 24 years old, something like that. I don't remember. So we are using age with numbers, of course, but it goes beyond, but always with verb to be. We cannot say, like in Spanish, yo tengo 25 años, I have 25 years old. No, that's not correct. Just to remind you something you already know. About the structure is pretty much the same like in Spanish, right? It's pretty much the same. Not exactly the same, but it's very similar. Because in Spanish we say, for example, Marcos está en casa. Marcos is at home. Pretty much the organization, right? So the organization is pretty much the same. When we say in Spanish, Mariana no está, let's see, Mariana no es colombiana, Mariana es mexicana. Mariana is not Colombian, she is Mexican. Take into account that in negative sentences, we create something similar. The organization is pretty much the same. And when we are using questions, let's suppose a personality, something about personality, is your sister a reserved woman? ¿Es su hermana una mujer reservada? Take into account that when we create the question, we use the verb es or is in English, es en español, to create the question at the beginning. I mean, we use the verb, the main verb, the verb to be, at the beginning to create a question. So we switch words to create questions. The same structure we have in Spanish is the same structure we have in English. Therefore, the organization is pretty much the same. What changes? What's the important thing to take into account? The conjugation of verb to be. As we know, the conjugation for I is am, for all plurals is are, and for a man, a woman, or an animal, it goes beyond that. It goes beyond, but let's suppose it's just that. We're going to use is, right? And obviously, we have to mention, we have to use the verb to be according to the context. See means context or complement, depends on what you want to mention. I mean, you are using the verb to be to talk about appearance, to talk about marital status, to talk about locations, and so on, right? We are at home. We are not in the gym. Are you in your job, right? Affirmative, negative, and question. So This is very similar to Spanish, and we can also do something, just to remind you something you already know. We can make contractions with the verb to be, so we can reduce the amount of letters we have in different interactions, especially when we are in informal contexts, especially, right? For example, instead of saying I am, we can say I'm. Instead of say, for example, we are, we say we're. Instead of saying, for example, she is, we say she's, and so on. To talk about negative sentences, we do something similar, but we have two different contractions for the conjugation of is and are. So the conjugations are I am not or I'm not. For example, with she is not the long form, she isn't or she's not. She's not what? She's not at home. Let's suppose that. And for plurals, we can have are not, aren't, or are not. For example, they are not twins. They aren't twins. They're not twins. It's exactly the same, right? Okay, so this is verb to be. This is how verb to be works. This is pretty easy, pretty much pretty similar to Spanish. And just to improve our knowledge of this topic, we're going to play a game. Okay, let's see. Saltar. We're going to play a game about verb to be. If feedback is required, I give you feedback at the end of the game. If feedback is not required, then I'm going to skip the feedback. Okay? I'm going to give you the link in the chat. If you can join, that would be great. If you cannot join, I will not play the game, but it's okay. Yeah. Okay, look, there you have the link. I'll start as soon as you join the game. By the way, I think you will have to create an account, but the accounts are free, so you don't have to pay anything. But I think it's going to take you some time to log in into the game. So I'll wait for you. Okay, I'm already in, so I'm going to start the game, and if required, I'll give you feedback. Okay, so let's complete the game, and then we will continue with the next part of this session because remember that simple present tense is divided into parts: verb to be first, and the management of other verbs on the second hand. Therefore, let's go. Okay, we have 13, 12 questions. That's good. Okay, look, the test has been completed. Therefore, let's see the reports. So let's check how are the questions. Okay, so with an 80% of accuracy, apparently, yes, 12 over 15, let's check the difficult questions because this is the best way to learn something with the feedback. So in the feedback, we have, okay, my boyfriend and I, because we are I'm not alone, I'm with somebody else, we are talking about a plural subject. In this case, it's we. And the conjugation of verb to be for we is are. We are students. Next question. Your sister sorry, is sister your where? The question here is where is your sister? So let's remember that the WH question is always at the beginning of a question. Where is your sister? Right? Okay, in this case, is Sebastian Yatra from Cuba? The options are yes, he is, or no, he isn't. But according to the reality, he's not from Cuba. So he's from another place. I don't know where he is from, but he is not from Cuba. Okay, so this is it. This is the end of the verb to be explanation. Let's go with something else. Let's go with simple present tense. We mentioned before that verb to be is used, I mean, its applicability is to talk about locations, marital status, appearance, personality, occupations, and so on. What about simple present tense? In this case, simple present tense is going to be used to talk about something of long term, events of long term. More specifically, something permanent. And we can divide this idea of permanent situations in more specific situations, more specific activities. But when we talk about something permanent, we're mentioning that something is not going to change easily. It's not going to be different in time with time. For example, something that's going to be permanent is that we live in Colombia. Perhaps it's possible, maybe we can change our residence and we can apply for a citizenship in Canada, Australia, United States, China, or whatever, doesn't matter. But if we are, as soon as we get older and older and older and older, the probabilities of this happening are even lower and lower and lower. We can, of course, but probabilities are reduce and reduce and reduce. So this is something permanent. It's not going to change easily with the time. What else can we mention that is something repeat, is something permanent? Actions that are repeated, because when we have we repeat actions, these actions become habits, and you know that habits are difficult to change. For example, if your part of your daily routine is to wake up early at 4 a.m. in the morning, at 4 a.m., right, 4 in the morning, it's hard for you, it's going to be hard for you to stay in bed until 6 a.m. because you don't feel comfortable in your bed, right? Because this is a part of your habit. If you always wake up at 6 at 4 a.m. because you have to go to work, because of your shift in your job, because I don't know, many situations, right? The habits are going to be difficult to be changed. So this becomes something permanent, right? What else is pretty much permanent? Hobbies, preferences, and opinions. For example, if your part of your hobbies are one of your hobbies is to go to the to the stadium every Saturday or every Sunday to see how your favorite team plays. For example, Deportes Tolima against, I don't know, Chico Football Club, let's suppose that. And you love to see Deportes Tolima, right? And you go every Sunday to the stadium. It's going to be difficult for you to say, no, I'm not going to go to the stadium to watch the match because this is a hobby. This is something you love. And when you love something, it's difficult to stop doing that, right? What else is permanent? A general truth, something that is real, it's true, it's a fact, not only here in Colombia, but also in Brazil, in China, in the space, in Ecuador, in Argentina, in Panama, whatever. Something that is true for everybody. Something true is that we all are going to die sooner or later. I hope later than sooner, but I hope, right? Or something that is true for everybody, that the earth revolves around the sun. Something that is true now, the earth is not the center of the universe. We thought before in the past that we were the center of the universe, but now we know it's not true. So it took a lot of time for us to understand this fact, but we already know that it's not true. That is true that we are not the center of the universe. All of these are permanent situations because they are difficult to change. They can change, of course, but it's going to take so much time to change, right? Additionally, we use simple present tense to predict the future. But what kind of future? We are predicting the future in terms of activities. We have already scheduled in our agendas, right? Something that's going to happen, events that are going to happen, let's suppose on Monday, on Saturday, this weekend, next Thursday, and so on. And these events don't depend on us. So we cannot do anything to change them, right? We know they are going to happen, and this is something we don't have the power to modify, right? So this is a schedule. We are predicting the future of an event that's going to happen. One day, it doesn't matter if we want to be part of this event or no. Doesn't matter if we are going to be present or absent, right? So this is the idea of this prediction of the future, something that's going to happen soon, next week, next Monday, next year, right? That is a fact that's going to happen. So how is it going to work? A verb to be no. Simple present tense is going to work on this way. We are going to need a person or a group of people, Mariana, Santiago, Fernando and Miguel, your uncles, you and I, it doesn't matter, who perform an action. Let's remember that an action is also called verb, and a verb in Spanish is known because in Spanish is conjugated in infinitive with the ending of ar, er, ir. Caminar, correr, reír, saltar, olvidar, pensar, escribir, and so on. So, we need a person who performs an action. Yo escribo, tú, usted lee, nosotros vivimos, ellos beben, whatever. We obviously need the context in order to improve our activity, right? Nosotros bebemos jugo, right? For example, or una limonada, let's suppose that. We need a person or a group of people who perform an action. And we need to take into account that if this activity is performed by a man, Fernando, by a woman, Catalina, by an animal, the dolphin, el delfín, right? This activity is going to be modified, yes or yes, right? It's like in Spanish when we say, let's suppose the verb read. Yo leo, tú lees, él lee, nosotros leemos, ellos leen, vosotros leéis, right? We have different conjugations, modifications of the verb according to the person. In English, we are going to do something similar, but we are going to modify the activity only if this activity is performed by a man, a woman, or an animal. How can we modify this verb? Well, the first situation, if we have a verb that ends in Y, and before the Y there is a consonant, so D, F, R, N, S, whatever, we're going to modify this Y for IES. We study, she studies. That's it. Second situation, if our verb ends in S, X, CH, SH, or O, we're going to add ES. Why? Because we need a vowel in order to be able to understand that we are modifying the verb. Otherwise, the verb is not going to be understandable, right? For example, I kiss my couple versus Andrea kisses her couple. We cannot say Andrea kisses her boyfriend, right? Because we cannot understand, we're not going to understand specifically in both situations, in speaking and in writing, that we are modifying the verb. So we have to say kisses. We need to add a sound of vowel so we can understand that we are talking about a woman, a man, or an animal who is performing an action. A verb that ends in X. They fix their car. He fixes his car. We cannot say he fixes, right? The sound is missing, is getting lost. Ending in CH. We watch TV versus Daniela watches TV. Ending in SH. I wash my clothes versus he washes his clothes. Ending in O. You go to bed Camila goes to bed, right? And finally, if our verb doesn't have any of these endings, we're going to modify it by adding the letter S. And that's it. Everything we need to know is here. So this is the idea of a modification in verbs when we have affirmative sentences and these activities are performed by a man, Andres, by a woman, Mariana, and by an animal, the rhino, right? So when we have these three guys alone by themselves, the verb is going to be modified on this way, right? That's it. So this is only acceptable in affirmative sentences because with negative sentences and with questions, we are going to have an auxiliary verb. The importance of the auxiliary verb is that it's going to define if we are mentioning a sentence, we are talking about something in the past, in the present, or in the future. That's why we have auxiliary verbs. For no other reason, just to know that we are mentioning something in past, something in present, or something in future. That's the importance of an auxiliary verb. Because we are talking about the present, the auxiliary verb must be conjugated in present. That's pretty obvious, right? So let's remember that the auxiliary verb is going to be do or does. And because do ends in O, right? That's why the conjugation of do for negative sentences and questions when the action is not performed by a man, a woman, or an animal, or when we ask for an action that is being performed by a man, a woman, or an animal, the conjugation of do is going to be does because it ends on O. Therefore, so, for instance, we are going to have for negative sentences the conjugation of do not or does not, and the contractions don't, doesn't. And because we have an auxiliary verb, the main verb is not going to change. It's going to be in infinitive, right? Without any kind of modifications. Examples, a quick example. For example, we're going to use do not for I, you, we, they, and we are going to use does not for a man, woman, animal. We don't study on weekends, but Marcos doesn't sing, and Marcos doesn't sing, right? Negative sentence. We are going to use does not or doesn't when the activity is not being made by a man, woman, or an animal. And to create questions, if you remember, with verb to be, we said that the verb to be goes at the beginning of the question, like in Spanish. Simple present tense, we're going to do something similar because the auxiliary verb goes at the beginning. When do we use do? When the activity, when we ask for when we ask the question about myself, about we, about you, or about they, all plurals, and we are going to use does for a man, woman, or an animal. For example, do you like studying? Maybe yes, maybe no. Do you like to do the homework? Maybe yes, maybe no. I don't know, right? So, does your sister live in Madrid? Maybe yes, maybe no. I don't know, right? Do you have brothers or sisters? Do you have siblings? Maybe yes, maybe no. I'm not sure. So, this is how simple present tense works. It's pretty easy, right? It's not very complex. And just to improve, just to better understand this topic, we're going to play a game in Kahoot. If you can join, that would be awesome. If you cannot join, it's okay too. I'm going to do it. I'm going to give you the link in a second. Okay, let's go with this one. 3 minutes are more than enough because this is something you have already studied. You can join with two different ways. The first option is to open the link I'm going to share with you here in the chat. The second option is to scan the QR code. And the third option is to open the webpage kahoot.it and then type the number 4860905. I'll start at 51 just in case, ¿vale? To take the best of the time we have. Right, I'll begin in 1 minute. So you can have time to join to the game. Okay, let's go. How this works? Okay, the methodology for this game is for you to pick up, collect all the diamonds, right? As soon as you answer correctly at least 3 questions, and you have to avoid taking the cans, the bones, the trash, everything that's not a diamond. Okay, so break a leg. Okay, 30 seconds. And that's it. Okay, doc. So this is the end of the game, right? And there is only one participant, and this participant got a score of 4,800 points. Congratulations! Great job. Okay, doc. So this is how simple present tense works, right? We have this is what we are going to see in the test. And finally, I'm going to finish my mentioning something that you are going to see in the test. In the test, you are going to have activities, listening activities. You are going to have the activities where you will have to listen to an audio, to a podcast, and reply something according to what you hear. Because the last activity of this module is a video presentation, I think this web page is going to help you both to develop this test and also to to improve your pronunciation to present the video presentation. The web page is called VO Screen. I'm going to give you the link here in the chat. The web page is free, so you don't have to pay for anything, but here is in the chat. And in VO Screen, the objective is for you to listen and to repeat what the character in the video says. So here you're going to find clips, short clips of from series, from movies, commercials, and so on, that are going to be very short, maybe 10 seconds long, 15 seconds, something like that. So once you choose the category, you're going to be able to listen something like this.
I am not trustworthy.
I am not trustworthy, right? So the objective here is to listen and to repeat what the character is saying. In this case, verb to be. I am not trustworthy. I am not trustworthy.
Why am I so emotional?
This is a question of verb to be. Why am I so emotional? Why am I so emotional? Also, if we want to change the category because verb to be is something we already domain, for example, we can try something else. For example, we can try with simple present tense, side B of the coin.
What? I don't have a place to stay.
What? I don't have a place to stay. What? I don't have a place to stay. He says this very fast. So we need is better. It's a good idea to repeat the audio many times, as many times as needed, so you can improve your listening skills.
What? I don't have a place to stay.
I don't have a place to stay, right? What? I don't have a place to stay. So I prefer, according to what I have studied, a lot of people say, experts in this, in terms of languages, a lot of people say that one of the best ways for you to improve your listening skills and your speaking skills is to listen native people who speak this language like a first language. It's like, for example, if somebody wants to learn Spanish, the best way to learn Spanish is by taking Spanish classes with a person from Panama, Colombia, Ecuador, Argentina, and so on. Somebody who speaks Spanish as the first language. This is why I prefer I share with you this web page because you are going to see original English by mentioned by native speakers. So this is why it's going to be a little hard at the beginning, but then you're going to your ear, your listening skills are going to improve soon if you are thorough, if you pay a lot of attention, and if you do the exercises very frequently. Okay, so this is it for today. If you have any questions, I would be glad to answer to them. If you don't have any questions, I'll meet you again tomorrow, same time, same thing, I think. Just check the announcements in Sayuna to be able to know what time and what link we are going to use for tomorrow's lesson. Okay? Okay, so if you have questions, I'll be waiting for you 1 more minute. If you have no questions, I'll finish the session in 1 minute. ¿Vale? As soon as the timer says 10:01. Okay, I guess there are no questions, therefore I'm going to stop the recording and I'm going to say thank you for coming and I'll see you next class. Take care.